Babe of the day. Babe of the day. MADOLYN Smith. As promised in my previous video about an actress named MADOLYN Smith, here's another video of an actress named MADOLYN Smith. Their first names are spelled different, and that's not all. The MADOLYN of this video is American. Before I get into more of MADOLYN, I wanted to tell you about next week's Babe of the Day videos. Next week, I'll be talking about two incredibly talented, but greatly underrated French actresses. Both of them share a lot of similarities. I think you'll agree, after watching these videos, that Hollywood really messed up by not allowing these two to become bigger stars. Stay tuned for Christine Carrere coming up on Monday, followed by Annie Fargé on Wednesday. MADOLYN Smith went from an urban setting to the funny farm before heading due south in a promising but all too short acting career. And she saw 2010 twice. Want to find out what I'm talking about? Watch on, Babamaniacs! MADOLYN was born on New Year's Day in New Mexico. She is very attractive, but has one peculiar feature: a cleft chin. I'll be honest, I don't notice it most of the time. Plus, it's not much of a cleft, in my opinion. She has very pretty eyes, and a pretty voice, great hair, and a great figure. Ironically, the male co-stars of her two best-known films, John Travolta and Chevy Chase, have cleft chins. MADOLYN's screen debut was about as great as any actress could hope for. John Travolta was already a big star in 1980 when the movie Urban Cowboy was released. Deborah Winger played the leading lady, Sissy, and MADOLYN played the other woman, Pam. It was a big part in a super successful movie that gets credit for revitalizing mainstream country music and cowboy culture in general. It featured a lot of the most popular country music people of the day, and it made dressing up like a cowboy seem cool again. What Travolta's Saturday Night Fever did for disco, Urban Cowboy did for country. You would think that with a start like this, MADOLYN Smith would have been an instant superstar, right? Well, she had a decent career, but things just didn't work out that way. After Urban Cowboy in 1980, and until All of Me in 1984, MADOLYN appeared in TV shows and TV movies. She had good parts in all of them, often as main characters, but nothing that became epic hits. All of Me is an awesome movie. I've always liked it. Steve Martin, Lily Tomlin, they would have to try hard to not make this funny. MADOLYN played Peggy Schuyler, the girlfriend of Steve Martin's character, Roger Cobb. MADOLYN plays a really unlikable, but funny, character in this movie. Of course, the relationship doesn't work out, because an odd romance is happening between Roger Cobb and Lily Tomlin's character, the spirit of Edwina Cutwater. This movie was a hit, and is a 1980s classic. MADOLYN's next movie in 1984, called 2010, The Year We Make Contact, wasn't a bomb, but it was the first theatrical film she did that made audiences go, eh. It just didn't dazzle the masses. It was the long-awaited sequel to the sci-fi classic 2001, A Space Odyssey. It's hard to say what went wrong. Sci-fi movies are a risky gamble anyway, but making people wait 16 years for a sequel doesn't help things either. Besides a great ensemble cast and special effects, this movie is considered, by many people, to be inferior to the first film. After 2010, MADOLYN returned to TV work until 1987. Her next film was intended for theatrical release, but was shelved until 1989 when it went straight to video. When you consider what it is, it's not surprising. The Caller is an odd sort of movie that featured only two actors, Malcolm McDowell and MADOLYN Smith. It's a mystery thriller that morphs into a sci-fi story. Most of the movie takes place in one room. It's not a crowd pleaser by any means. In 1988, MADOLYN was the leading lady of the comedy movie Funny Farm, opposite of Chevy Chase. This is my favorite movie of hers. First of all, this movie is hilariously funny, and she takes just as much of a mental and physical beating as Chevy does. At the time, this movie was a modest box office success. Odd enough, it gained a cult following after the release of Chevy's super popular movie, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which was released the next year. Now, a lot of people consider Funny Farm to be one of Chevy Chase's best movies. Seriously though, it wouldn't be as funny as it is without MADOLYN Smith. In the movie, Andy and Elizabeth Farmer, played by the two leads, move from New York City to a small town in Vermont. Andy, a sports writer, wants to write a novel, but things at their country home go terribly wrong from the very beginning. Everything from the people in the town to the house itself is totally nuts. Andy's script turns out to be a dud, but Elizabeth develops a talent for writing children's stories. After Andy steals Elizabeth's script and gives it to his all-too-pleased publisher, Elizabeth wants a divorce. There's a whole lot of story here, but simply put, the farmers patch things up and decide to stay in their house. Andy takes a job as a local sports writer, and Elizabeth, now pregnant, is a successful children's writer. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Funny Farm. There are a number of memorable moments throughout the movie, and MADOLYN Smith really dazzles. I thought, at the time, that she was on the verge of becoming a really, really big star. In my eyes, she is, because I wouldn't be doing a video about her if I didn't think so. However, MADOLYN never did become a major Hollywood player. After Funny Farm, her work was largely in television, save for the 1991 films Final Approach and The Super. In 1988, a month after Funny Farm was released in theaters, she married NHL hockey player Mark Osborne. Since Funny Farm, she has been credited as MADOLYN Smith Osborne. They have two daughters, Abigail and Eliza. She did some rather interesting things on TV after Funny Farm. In 1989, she appeared in an episode of Cheers. In 1990, she was in the TV movie The Plot to Kill Hitler, based on a true story. She played the female lead, Nina von Stauffenberg, the real-life wife of the man who led the failed plot to assassinate Hitler. Later that year, she was in the miniseries The Kennedys of Massachusetts. I remember this being heavily advertised at the time. It had a large ensemble cast of well-known actors, and won an Emmy and a Golden Globe. MADOLYN played Gloria Swanson, the legendary silent film actress. Again that year, she played another real-life historical figure in the TV movie The Rose and the Jackal. This was a Western adventure starring Christopher Reeve as the real-life detective Alan Pinkerton, who was a Union agent in this story. He falls in love with the real-life Confederate spy, Rose O'Neal Greenhow, played by MADOLYN. 1991 saw MADOLYN in two underwhelming theatrical films. The first was the sci-fi mystery thriller Final Approach. It was a boring, dreary affair. MADOLYN just didn't have good luck with sci-fi movies. Everything else she did was awesome projects, but sci-fi? No. The other was The Super. This was a comedy movie starring Joe Pesci. I wanted to like it because I like Joe Pesci. And I don't think it's a bad movie, just, It kind of drags, and it isn't as ha-ha funny as it should be. The movie is about a slumlord who is forced, by order of the court, to live in one of his own rundown buildings. He has to repair the building, or he'll go to prison. There's more to the story than that, but everything ends on a happy note. MADOLYN plays the city inspector who has to check up on what Pesci, the super, is doing. This movie flopped hard in theaters at the time. According to the director, Rod Daniel, the original choice for lead was Chevy Chase. As much as I like Joe, I think Chevy would have been the better pick. He always excelled in those fish out of water stories, and it would have reteamed him with MADOLYN, which would have been awesome. MADOLYN's very last acting role, for many years, was in 1994 in an episode of Due South. At least this was a cool show to end with. Due South was a funny action series that teamed a Canadian Mountie with a Chicago police detective. MADOLYN played Mackenzie King, a brassy reporter who helps Fraser, the Mountie, solve a case. If she had to quit acting, this was a good character to go out with. She did come out of retirement once, in 2010, for the documentary Louis Sullivan, The Struggle for American Architecture. Of all things, she was the voice of Louis Sullivan, and she did a good job. It's actually a well-done documentary. If you're interested in learning about the father of the skyscraper, check it out. I think this is cool because, as far as her acting career goes, MADOLYN saw 2010 twice. First in the sci-fi movie 2010, and again with this documentary. Weird, huh? I miss seeing MADOLYN in new shows. She's one of those actresses you like spotting in movies and television. As far as I'm concerned, she's a star all the way. And a true Babe of the Day. Babe of the Day.